Alright, so tomorrow we have the Day of Reckoning card. I can't emphasize it enough. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this card. Pretty much all the fights. There's one or two fights that I'm just looking at and thinking, they could be a bit of a mismatch or a foregone conclusion. But for the most part, I'm looking forward to this fight. Look, I think it's going to be fantastic. We're obviously doing a watch along. I cannot emphasize it enough, but the watch along, we want to go. We want to see what we can do with that. I enjoy doing them. I see the Dubois Miller fight. They're saying it's going to be around about 6 p.m. UK time. That could be one of two things. Either one, it's down lowish down the card, which is a bit disappointing because I think it's a great fight. Should be a bit higher up. But I also reckon there's the possibility that this card may be over early enough in the night. I mean, obviously the Fury and Ngannou card, that one, I think Adelaide versus Wadley was over, I think before 10, quarter to 10 thereabouts. It was over reasonably early because all the fights ended in a knockout, and early at that. I think that was one of the later fights on the card in terms of rounds. So it meant that we had this massive, it was, many of you know who tuned in for that live, that was not easy. Believe me, that wasn't an easy live, trying to kill that time between co-main to main. I don't think they'll do anything like this. And starting at 4 p.m, which is quite early. Certainly over here, it's very early. I don't recall there ever being cards on that time, 4 p.m. UK time. So I'm wondering what time this. So people ask me like, will I do it? I was saying 9 originally, but depending on, I have it all ready to go, thumbnails and all. It probably depends on kind of what time what time we kind of roughly think the main event will be on. I'll obviously try and go live an hour or 2 hours before that. So I will do a watch along at some point tomorrow. We'll try and catch it. We always try and catch the last 3 fights of the card. Right, we'll wait and see. In terms of today, we obviously had the weigh-in results, or the results of the weigh-in. I'll go through the lower card and I'll give my quick 2 cents on it. Junior Fa weighed in 278.9 pounds, and Frank Sanchez weighed 238. Now I know Sanchez has come in, I think, in the 220s in the past, but lately he's been a bit heavier. Like his last fight, he was 241. Daniel Mars 247. I'm nearly sure he was lighter than that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was seeing yeah, he was 2 way back in 2020, to be fair. But he's been as light as the 220, so that's around about a normal weight for him, at this point. But I don't think I think Fa was, maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't recall him being as heavy as that. Yeah, 260, so maybe 267. Dominic Gwynn was 259. So yeah, he's been lighter, but I don't think he's going to really give much against Frank Sanchez. I expect him to win that fight. Filip Hrgovic 246, Mark Demori 242. Look, that fight right there, just, that one right there, honestly, just come on now. Jayal Pataya 198.4, Elizara's 197, both comfortably within the cruiserweight limit. We all know what I think about that fight. I think Elizara, is just the case of, is he going to do better or worse than Jordan Thompson? Because he ain't going to win this fight. It's just the case of, can he do better or worse? I suspect he'll probably do worse, but I could be wrong. Arslanbek Makhmudov 262, exactly. A big, very, very heavy man. Ajay Kabayel, I took it off there, 241. I expect Makhmudov to win this fight pretty easily. Kabayel, he's been in the 230s in the past. Yeah, mid-2. What was he against Chisora? He was 237. So yeah, he's not crazy heavier, to be fair. He's about 3 pounds heavier than he was last time around. So, 241, reasonably normal. Lyndon Arthur and Dimitri Bivol, both comfortably within the 175 pound limit. Amazing 175 is the lightest weight we have on this card. It's crazy. Again, I said I expect Dimitri Bivol to win, probably by stoppage. I talked in the video yesterday I did, and I said, I wonder what odds you'd get on all fights to end by knockout. Not who'd win or anything like that, but just every fight on this card to end in a knockout. And people were saying Ladbrokes were doing odds on it. I couldn't find any. But I did find an interesting bet that I thought was worth. Look, I'm not a big betting guy, as you know. I very seldom do. But the odd time I might just go and look on Paddy Power or something, and just something might just perk your interest. And I seen with Joshua Valien, Paddy Power were doing a special. Otto Valien to get dropped in either, basically between round 1 and 6. If he gets dropped in any of those rounds, right, a tenner gives you 50 quid. I was like, why not? Gives you cash out option as well. I was like, turn 10 quid into 50. Yeah, I wouldn't rule out Joshua dropping out of it. He might not stop him in those rounds, But even, let's say Otto Wallin walks into a right hand, he's not hurt, gets dropped, there you go, 50 quid in your pocket. So I just thought that was an interesting. Paddy Power doing some good little specials for this card as well. So I said I'd chuck a tenner. It's only a tenner. Just chuck a tenner on it and see what happens. But I expect Bivol to beat Lyndon Arthur by stoppage. Daniel Dubois. Now this is the fight that we're all looking forward to. Certainly I am. Dubois 239. He's been roughly in around that weight. Sometimes a little bit heavier throughout his career. I think he was a bit lighter for Usyk. But Jarrell Miller, 333 pounds. Damn. He's weighed that before. Daniel Dubois is a very big man. And he's nearly 100 pounds lighter than his opponent. Miller is massive. And obviously shoved Daniel Dubois at the weigh-in. Both guys really don't seem to like one another. Look, as I said, I picked Jarrell Miller to win this fight. No great degree of certainty in that pick. I'm not saying that I think it's a foregone conclusion. I really went back and forth in my head over a few times about this fight. Part of me leans towards Dubois, part of me leans towards Miller. I'm just going with Jarrell Miller. No real. I just think that if we get a Miller who's even half of what he used to be, it should be enough to get him through. But saying that, I don't know. The punching power of Dubois could, and some people will say will, make the difference. That's why it's such an intriguing fight. Let's watch it tomorrow. I can't wait, honestly. The business end, Wilder, I was pleasantly surprised by both guys at the weigh-in. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad Deontay Wilder is back in the 2 teens because, truth be told, that is roughly his weight. That's his best weight. That's his optimum weight. 213 pounds. I can't remember the last time he was sub 220. I think it might have been against Luis Ortiz or potentially the first fight against Tyson Fury or Dominic Breazeale, thereabouts. But it's been a while. That's his best weight. When Wilder was coming in, even in the high 220s, but more so the 230s, we don't see good performances. You know, when he beat Bermane Stiverne, he was, I think, 219 when he fought Stiverne. And then he went and decided to pack on some weight. He was coming in around about 229, 230 for his subsequent defences, and he didn't look good. And once he took the weight back off again and got back into the 2 teens, low 220s, we saw a much better Deontay Wilder. So Wilder has this notion in his head that, you know, bigger is better, but it's not really. He doesn't have the frame for that. When he fought Fury in the 3rd fight, I think he was in the high or mid 230s. And I've said this several times, and I will stand by this. Had Wilder come in 220, 215, he could have won that fight. He could have won that fight because he was dead tired after a couple of rounds. His body just isn't able. It's not designed to carry excess muscle. And I think had he been that weight, 213, I'm not saying for definite he would have. We know Fury showed tremendous heart, but I think he would have had a better chance in that fight had he been lighter. He's lighter in this fight. I worried about Joe Parker. I said that if he comes in the 250s, his ass is going to get knocked out because he's too slow at that weight. His best weight ideally is in the 230s. That's his best weight, 235 thereabouts. 245 is still too heavy for my liking for Joe Parker, but it's still better than what I thought it would be. So I'm happy he's at least come down a bit from the 250s. I still think it's a little bit too heavy, and I don't think he's going to beat Deontay Wilder. But out of all the fights, you know, the 2 main fights, this is the one I can envision an upset happening in. I can see most likely this one having an upset. Could be wrong. Otto Wallin could surprise me. Who knows? But Joe Parker coming in the 240s, again, not ideal, the weight for him, but it's better than some of the weights he has been weighing in. Now, we get to the main event. Anthony Joshua, Otto Wallin. Anthony Joshua, 251 pounds. Otto Wallin, 238 pounds. Now, Anthony Joshua, when he made his comeback against Jermaine Franklin, I think he was 255. His last fight against Hellenius, he was a bit lighter. He was 250. So he's only a pound heavier. Looks in good shape too, mind you, than he was against Hellenius. Again, with Joshua is another one where every time I've seen him in the 250s, he's normally been a little bit more stiff, a little bit more stationary, and not as quick, not as fluid. I think that the low 240s at this point in his career is a good weight for him. The low 240s, I think, is the best for Joshua. He's in the 250s now against Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, again, bear in mind, he only fought very recently. Back in September, he was 237, so he's only a pound heavier. He has been heavier. He was 245 in January when he fought Riddell Booker last year. He was 241. So, he's been as high as when he fought Sakalowski. Now, I know that Sakalowski fight was on short notice, to be fair. I think that was on the undercard of Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith, was it? It was, actually. Look, I knew with that fight, he took that on something like 8 days, something like that notice. So he was never going to be in the best shape for that. So that's a bit of an anomaly. But for the most part, he's been weighing in around about that weight, 236 against Tyson Fury. So his weight has kind of always been in around that. That one's going to be interesting. Again, I'm going with Anthony Joshua to knockout or stop out of Wallin late. Right? I know that you say you put a bet on, or just a little tenner, but more than likely, I reckon he'll stop out of Wallin late. And I've seen other people tweet that there's this feeling with that fight that AJ is going to steamroll out of Wallin. I've seen a few people, I've seen Dell even tweet that. And I'm not going to lie, it does have that feel to it. I got that feeling as well, that Joshua's just going to go in there and he's just going to absolutely obliterate out of Wallin. It does have that kind of feel to it. I'm not as sure with Wilder, but I do kind of have that feel with Joshua that he's going to go in there and just obliterate Wallin. Could be wrong. Wallin could surprise us. God knows, he might even be able to pull the upset. Who knows? But my pick is the same with this. Joshua to win, late stoppage. Late stoppage against Otto Wallin. And that is the card, And to think we're not even, I was going to say we're rounding off the year, but we're not even. We have a new A on Boxing Day. I can't wait for that fight. And we might even do a live watch along for that one as well. Because obviously, if you're working over Christmas, make the money. If you're lucky enough to have the time off, that's brilliant as well. Me, I'm lucky enough. I finished up at 12:30 today, so I'm off now until I actually was meant to be back on the 2nd, but I took the Tuesday off, so I'm not back till the 3rd of January. It's a Wednesday. So I've got plenty of time now over Christmas. Just going to be recording a lot of videos, doing post fights, fallout from the events this Saturday. So it's going to be a busy couple of days for me. I'm looking forward to it. And obviously we go into the new year. Going to be a lot of changes. The company I work for now has an office in Soho, which is in, I think, Southwest. Well, I know where it is, but I don't know if that's Southwest London or not. I know it's kind of in the West End. And the plan for me next year is to look for a transfer over there, because that would mean that I wouldn't have to go looking for the job. I could just literally hit the ground running. So fingers crossed we can get that. Fingers crossed we can get that. That's the plan for the new year, first and foremost, to try and get a transfer over there, because that takes a lot of the work out of it. So that's a plan for the new year. For those who are off, as I said, enjoy it. For those who are working, keep making that money. I'll leave it with that. Probably the next time I talk to you will either be doing the watch along, or depending on what time the running order is, I'll probably do a couple of post fights before then. I might do Hrgovic, I might do 1 or 2 post fights before then. But we will chat tomorrow. That's my thoughts on everything. Leave it in the comments below. Lads, lassies, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.